James Wellness, this wine is from Bodegas LAN. This is called Culmen, 2011 vintage Reserva wine from Rioja Alta. Stay tuned and I'll tell you more about this wine. So absolutely gorgeous wine here. I love the presentation. It's beautiful. I love the label itself. So look at this, Bodegas LAN, so luxuriant and beautiful. And I think it's a really gorgeous bottle of wine. And here's a back label. You see it is a Reserva wine certified, of course. 13.6% ABV. This is 88% Tempranillo and 12% Graciano. Wine does age nicely in Rioja. And I think this is a really fantastic example of that. I love the colorization. It's deep garnet, but not over extracted. So you get some beautiful colorization, but not such an over extracted concentration of fruit. This is a nice wine where it's really a nice balance of fruit, and it's also highlighting Tempranillo and Graciano. And I think it's a nice way of presenting this wine so that it's a nice color. It's also balanced, and you're not getting an over-extracted wine, which I don't enjoy drinking at all. So I was speaking in Logroño, the capital of Rioja, and I was here for a presentation. It was actually a nice, large international audience, and ultimately it was a large room, about 300 people. And what was served before the lunch, before I spoke, was Bodegas LAN. I'll never forget that. It's funny how you think back on things in your life and how you tasted something or experienced something, and you somehow really have a crystallized memory of that. And so I had a great time doing that, by the way. And I think this wine is something that, first of all, it's about a $60 to $70 price point. Depends where you are in the United States, but it's one where you might want to serve on a very special meal for the summertime, which would go very nicely with beef, or maybe in the wintertime for some, I would say, roasted turkey. You can enjoy this with fish, which I've had the pleasure of tasting many Rioja red wine with fish, and they pair very nicely. So when I think of Rioja, I don't always think of Vineyard Select, and this is a vineyard selection. Now that site is known as El Rincon. It is on the estate itself, which is the Viña Lantillano. So I like that this wine also, in addition to its balanced qualities, it's also a lower ABV of 13.6%, and this can actually qualify for a wine that was a Gran Reserva. So in a Zoom tasting, I did ask, could this be a Gran Reserva wine? Because it does spend a lot of time in bottle as well as in oak. And when you think of these two things, it could go together, but what the Bodegas LAN wants is flexibility, because maybe they won't always do it the same way. In terms of, say, the 88% Tempranillo, 12% Graciano in this wine, it could change slightly and include maybe Garnacha and Mazuelo. Maybe it's going to be 12% of one of those in the future or not. And it depends on how each year is going to, bring fruit to the table, so to speak, the tasting table, and how that might, express itself. And that expression is something that could be a different vintage. The vintage may necessitate a different Rioja wine grape, and so you could have a switch out in the next few years. So the alcoholic fermentation is in truncated cones to extract color. Now this has a malolactic fermentation in French barrique. This is hand harvested and put on a sorting table, and so obviously that's a really nice touch, because you're getting all those berries that should be part of that selection taken out so that you have the most optimized wine itself. So this has alcoholic fermentation in a truncated tank, so you're maximizing color. Additional to that is malolactic fermentation in French barrique. So this has 26 months of new French oak and 20 months in the bottle itself. Characteristic nose on this is black cherry, a bit of underbrush, dried red rose petal, and additional notes on this would be spice rack as well as fresh bay leaf. So it's very evocative on those characteristics, very vivid and beautiful. So next is the palate characterization. So on the front palate is a beautiful experience of red cherry notes. On the mid palate is dried herbs and black pepper, and then on the finish is really dried red floral notes, as well as spice notes. This wine is 94 points out of 100 points. A fantastic, beautiful wine, sophisticated. It's drinkable now. It's good for your cellar as well for at least 10 years or longer. So you'll find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and WordPress. My podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Salud.